Okay, so continuing our discussion on constructivism, this is going to be video three of the five video series. So in this video, we want to talk about a comparison between the traditional classroom and the constructivist classroom. Now, I want to actually, put out at the very beginning here, there's no one set standard. Okay, this is just a comparison of just two fictitious classrooms themselves. Uh, as most of you probably have already observed, most classroom is a little bit of mix of everything. But if we want to stick with the strict sense of traditional versus constructivist, is what we're going to kind of highlight some facts in. So we want to talk about curriculum, students, how they're viewed, the role of teachers, and how assessments are done. So let's kind of start with that. Let's look at in the traditional classroom, it's actually teacher focused, whereas the constructivist classroom is student focused. All right. So in that traditional classroom, teachers kind of behave in a didactic manner, putting out information part to whole and emphasizing on basic skills in a bottom up manner. It's basically how we all, most of us were actually educated. Well, you got to learn your numbers, and then you learn how to add and then multiply and so on, part to whole. So you're actually building to something. In a constructivist classroom, the teacher is more interactive, mediating the environment, and then presents curriculum whole to part, with the emphasis on the big concept. So this is a top-down method of teaching versus a bottom-up method of teaching with the traditional side. Okay. So when we look at the students, so the students in a traditional classroom are viewed as blank slates or empty vessels. They're waiting for the all-knowing teacher to fill them with knowledge. The students are work individually and adhere to some sort of strict curriculum. And on the other side of the coin, we have the constructivist classroom, where the students are viewed as thinkers and emerging theories, and they're working groups. This classroom assumes that students come to the class with already some preset knowledge as it is, and they're simply going to build on that knowledge base that the student has. This classroom is focused on the students questioning and gaining insight through inquiry and experimentation. On the traditional side, the classroom focuses on a rigid curriculum that moves the entire class through at the same pace. So most times it's mandated at the end of each one of those blocks, they have to assess and then go on to the next block or whatever. In the constructivist classroom, it's actually focused on the student forming their own ideas and behaviors and concepts, and actually drawing their own conclusions. The key here is how each different classroom assesses our students. So as we know, in the traditional classroom, assessments are normally done at the end, separate from the actual teaching itself. So at the end of the block itself, some type of assessment is done, written test or performance test or whatever is actually done through actual formal testing. In the constructive classroom, assessments are actually interwoven in the teaching itself and occurs through teacher observation of students. And again, as we talked about this before, that observation could be the teacher actually observing that student applying those skills using Socratic questioning to actually inquire, how much knowledge the student does have, whatever. So it is a different method of doing things. And as I said, it depends on the subject matter, whatever. Any given classroom may actually kind of float between one of these methods or kind of go back and forth. Every one of the classrooms, even within the traditional classroom, normally has a means of actually, identifying those fast learners and then the slow learners or whatever, and possibly teaming them up to actually so they can kind of work together and those kind of things. So I do want to, again, put my disclaimer out. One is not better than the other. I just want to kind of point out some key points of traditional classroom versus constructivist classroom. Thank you.